Hey guys, welcome back. I'm David and we're here in my shop where I build Ewor guitars. And this is episode 6 of the Ewor Customs Great Guitar Giveaway, where I'm working real hard to try to give away this guitar right here. And in this video, we are going to be working on the scarf joint of this neck. And we're going through some more refinement of the wood. You know, building guitars, you're taking rough sawn lumber and you keep working it and refining it and making it better to make what's hopefully at the end a fine instrument that's going to be stable and rock solid for a very long time. Anyway, so that's what we're getting into on this one, the scarf joint. But I just want to mention to you, if you haven't signed up for the contest yet, 2 simple things. You got to subscribe to my channel and you have to enter a name that you think I should call this guitar. I've gotten a lot of great names from folks. A lot of nice comments too. It's just been really nice interacting with everybody through YouTube. I really enjoyed this whole thing. So anyway, this episode is going to be about a scarf joint. And if you like this sort of thing, give me a like and subscribe. And I definitely suggest you send me a name you think, because it could be a guitar in it for you. So anyway, let's get rolling with the video and we'll see you at the end. Hey guys, so I've got my neck blanks here and I wanted to talk about something for a second. We're going to start working on the scarf joint, but I wanted to talk about something for a second before I did that. So today is the day after Christmas, December 26th, 2020. And I've been out of town for about 5 days. Went up to visit my daughter and she tried to kill me with activities. She kept me really busy the whole time, but I'm glad to be back. I had a great time. Thank you, Renee, if you're watching this. Anyway, and Aaron too. They both showed me a lot of fun. Anyway, so I was gone for 5 days. What I did, I already had these neck blanks basically made up to this spot right here. And every time I do something major on a piece of wood, especially at this stage, I like to put it back in my drying box. It's just a simple plywood box I made. I'll show it one day. I think I've showed it a couple of times, but it's a simple plywood box. I lined it with 1 inch of foam insulation. I've got a dehumidifier in there and a heat lamp. And I have a deal that's set up, but it's a humidistat and a thermostat that sets up and controls the heat lamp and the dehumidifier to maintain a low level of humidity inside. And with the heat and everything, it dries these things out. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, both necks, I had both of them in there, and both the bodies for that matter too, because I both had them to the next stage. I put them in there and they were pretty darn flat. They were flat, square, straight, no twists, nothing. I mean, they were in really good shape. So I put them in there for 5 days, and it brought the moisture contents in a good spot. Now I've got this, it's kind of a cheapie, but it's a moisture meter. Anyway, and I put it on there, so this is at about 4% right now. So it's pretty low, 5 right there. You got me in my hand, so that'll pick it up. But anyway, so it's nice and dry, but what I wanted to say was when I put it in the box, it was all flat and straight and square and all that stuff. And I put it in there for 5 days and I take it out, and it wasn't a lot, but they were slightly, the wood had moved some. Wood moves when you work on it, especially when you cut it down. You know, you change the shape of it, you take it out of the full board and you rip it down, and then you join it and plane it and all that, and you glue it together, and you got these other types of wood. I got wenge and flame maple in here. Anyway, so once you've done some major cutting on a piece of wood, it's always good to stick it back and to re-dry it again, because it's going to move. And I'd rather have it move now when I could do something about it than after the guitar is built and then the neck starts moving or twisting or something like that, which you definitely don't want. So anyway, so I got it back out of there and I checked it. I've got a big flat surface. I've got different ways of checking it, but I put it on top of my spindle sander over there that has a milled cast iron finish, cast iron top on it, which is pretty darn flat. And I checked it. It was a little bit bowed, a little bit twisted, not much, but enough to make a difference on both these neck blanks. Anyway, so I've just gone through the process of I rejoined them, squared up the edges, joined them, and I ran through my drum sander. So now we've got 2 neck blanks that are once again as flat as I can get. I don't want to say perfect, but it's awfully close to perfect. Flat, square, no twist. They look really good. Anyway, so I wanted to do that, and that's important to do that at several stages while you're building the guitar to make sure to stabilize that wood as much as possible. So anyway, so that's pretty important. Anyway, so I'm going to turn this camera down where you can see me, and I'm going to start laying out for my scarf joint. I'm going to cut a scarf joint at 13 degrees on both of these necks, and I'm going to go through the process of doing that right now. Anyway, so let me reset this camera and we'll get going with that. All right, so here's my neck blank. I have from the center piece here, which is a little bit shorter than the rest, to the end, I've got it. It's 30 inches long. It's about an inch and an eighth to inch and 3/16 thick, I think. Anyway, so, and this is how I go about laying out my scarf joint. So like I said, it's going to be a 13-degree scarf joint. Initially, I'm going to cut the thickness of the headstock down to 5/8, and I'll further thin that down to where I want it as time goes on. But at any rate, so to start with, I'm going to come over here. I've got a fairly long headstock I'm going to do. So if I go just the angled part of the headstock, it's probably 7 7/8, almost 8 inches long, okay? Which is longer than definitely longer than a 3 on the side. But at any rate, so for this, what I'm going to do is I'm coming here, I'm going to my longest point here, and I'm going to measure 11.5 inches right here. Okay, so that's going to be plenty. That's way more than I need, but it's also going to be plenty to leave me the remaining amount here for the rest of the neck on that end. So anyway, 11.5 works. I already checked it. 11.5 is going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square that up. Oh, and incidentally, this is the side that the fretboard goes on. The fretboard is going to nail on this side, or glue onto this side right here. We don't nail on fretboard. At any rate, so I'm going to mark this, square it up nice. I'm going to mark it here on the side, just where it comes over the edge. I'm going to mark this other side here, okay? Now, I'm going to take my angle finder, right, and I've got it set at 13 degrees. You can see right here that's at 13 degrees, and that's what I do my necks on, okay? So I'm going to take it, I'm going to run this over. I hope you can see this. So I'm going to run this over right where my mark is, right where the angle breaks, right here between the square and then the angle. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw that mark right there. That is going to be the piece I'm going to cut off. That's where I'm going to make the cut. And this piece comes off here, this end comes off, it's going to flip over and glue back on top, and where this side then becomes the fretboard side, and this side winds up being the back of the headstock. So I'm going to cut it here, I'm going to flip it, and this flat part is going to glue down against this angled part, okay? Now, like I said, I'm going to at first thickness my headstock down to 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to mark that right here. I'm doing this to show you. I'm going to mark 5/8. Come down here, I'm going to mark 5/8 here too. That's way thicker than I'm going to need it, but I'm just doing this. I do this so that once it's made, I can thickness it down to what I want. All right, so now I'm going to mark this right here. Okay, so this piece right here, I'm going to put some X's on it. That's going to become my headstock, all right? So what happens is, this cuts here, and then it's going to cut here, and I'm going to flip the piece over. And what that's going to do, I'm going to measure this right here. The nut, in the end, is basically going to sit right here. This is where that nut's going to sit, if you could see that. Let me kind of hold that up there for you. That's where that nut's going to sit right there, okay? So the length I have, this spot right here is we're going to say 2 11/16, okay? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to mark 2 11/16. I'm just doing this to show you something. So 2 11/16, okay? That, when it's all said and done, is where the thing's going to break off at an angle. The headstock's going to break off at an angle, okay? So if I bring this over here, right there is where it's going to break off an angle. So I've now lined my neck template on top of here, basically where it's going to line up, okay? And as you can see up here, I've got plenty of room. I've probably got an extra inch up here, I would say, of room to play. And down here, there's my 24th fret, there's the end of my fretboard, and there's my single coil pickup. And this neck is going to reach under that single coil pickup to there. So see, I'm going to have about 3/4 of an inch left over here, and I probably have about an inch left off up here. So at any rate, that's how I do that. That's how I lay it out, and that's going to be the angle. And now I have and I'd already laid out the other neck blank here before too, okay? So what I'm going to do, and I'll go over the bandsaw in a second to show you, I have this jig I made that rides through the groove, the T-miter slot in my bandsaw. And this board here is set at an angle of 13 degrees relative to this T-slot guide here. And I'm going to put my neck in here, and I'm going to take a clamp, and I'm going to clamp it down on there. And I'm going to run this all the way over to here, okay? So you can see kind of a flat spot right here on this on the jig. That's where the bandsaw blade goes. That was cut by the bandsaw blade. So I'm going to run my little my mark where it lines up right here. I'm going to clamp this down, and I'm going to run it through the bandsaw, and it's going to cut right there. Then I'm going to take this piece off again, and I'm going to resaw this down to this 5/8 of an inch thickness. Then I'm going to glue it on top. So anyway, so that's how that works. And I will go over, I got to change the blade in the bandsaw. I got to put my resaw blade back on there. And I'm going to put that on there, and we're going to set up and cut this next. All right, so here I've got the longer piece of the neck blank, and here's the cutoff I have. So as you saw in the last clip, I cut it off. I did the angle cut on it, and then I turned it. I cut it down to its 5/8 of an inch thickness. Then I also ran this surface here, not the angle, but this surface here through my drum sander, just to smoothen it off a little bit and get rid of some of the bandsaw marks. So anyway, so now the next step I do in this, I've got to have these two surfaces plane out just absolutely perfect with each other. So we have a nice angle, a good glue joint, and it's true. In other words, it's not twisted. So we don't want this piece to be twisted one way or the other when it's on there. So this is the best way that I found to do this. So what I'm here at the edge of my bench, I'm lining these two angles up. Okay, they're awfully close. Now I'm going to take two of my clamps, got them right here ready to go, and I'm going to slip these on. I'm going to clamp these two boards together. So now the width, incidentally, is also, I've got them running exactly parallel with each other. I'll go here in a second. Okay, like so. Like so. Make sure it's just right. Okay, clamp them down. And get my straight edge. So these are still to the bandsawed surfaces, and they're fairly rough, but we're gonna sand them now, and we're gonna hand sand them with this block of wood I've got here. Just a flat piece of plywood that's cut the right length. And I've got this little piece in there that just basically wedges the belt tight, and this is a 4x24 sanding belt, and I think it's a 50 grit says in there. So anyway, we're gonna take this, we're gonna hold it nice and flat. Every once in a while, I'm going to stop and I'm going to get my straight edge. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to check it. Not terrible. It's still got a couple little gaps here and there. I'm going to check it on an angle too. We want these two surfaces to plane out perfectly with each other. Looks good. That is how we get the angle in the headstock. Looks really nice. Okay, so we've got the headstock cut, angled. The angles are good. We planed them off with the sander. Everything fits really nice. The next thing I want to do before I glue it is I want to put a couple of indexing pins in right down here, actually indexing screws. When you get these two angled surfaces glued together, they're going to try to slip and slide all over the place. So I found it was just easier to go ahead and drill a couple screws in. And remember, up here the headstock, or the width of the neck, is only going to be 1 11/16, and this is over 3. So I'm going to have just enough room to get me a screw up here and one right down here. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I've got it clamped down to my spindle sander top, which is it's very flat. And it's really nice. I've got it clamped down over here on this side to hold it, and then I've got this clamp just holding a piece on there. It'll hold it good now before the glue goes on. Once that glue goes on, that thing's going to be slipping around and be perfect. So anyway, so right about in here, I've got room to get me a screw in. There is nothing I can do but swear this on. There we go. So that looks good. It's all set to go in my little glue jig. Okay, so now I'm ready to glue it up. This is my gluing jig right here. It's just something I can clamp the thing down to and put a piece of wax tape on it. But anyway, so I'm going to mark this here. So when I stick the glue on there and go to run those screws back in, it's a little easier to find where it goes. Okay, so that is that. And I'm just going to take and put some glue on this thing. Like always, not too much, not too little. This is definitely plenty. Maybe it's just a little bit too much. You can see I wiped a lot of glue right there. That's one of my many glue wiping spots. Well, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all the nice comments I get from everybody. It really does me good. It makes me feel really good that somebody's out there watching, and I hope you got something out of the scarf joint thing. I said I really like scarf joints on guitars. I like the tilted headstock. Keeps your strings at an even plane as they break over the nut and everything. And it's just to me, it's a good way to build a guitar. I do the flat ones too, but I really like the tilted headstocks. Anyway, if you liked it, give me a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and let your friends know about the contest. And if you haven't yet, send me in a name. Anyway, we'll see you all in the next one.